Okay, we are back with Matt behind the scenes of the Raritan Valley Hi-Railers, and now we are in May, right?
Right, yeah.
May. So this is our May update with Matt. So what we're going to look at is his finished scene, sort of like a little insider video of what to expect at the TCA convention because you guys are going
Yep,
to be there.
yep, TCA Convention. That's June June 15th to the 23rd. We'll be there the Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
So you guys will be set up with your
We'll
with the
be setting
layout.
up that Thursday. The floor actually opens that Thursday night, I think at 5 o'clock, and then the layouts will be trains will be running. I think that Thursday it runs till 9 at night, I think. And then Saturday is from 9 in the morning till 5. Saturday is 9 in the morning till 2.
All right,
Convention runs all week.
right,
But there's tours and there's different things.
right.
But
There's tours.
the floor with any vendors and table stuff like that's only open Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday.
So those of you, I'll put a link to the website for the TCA convention, the 2024 TCA convention. Um, I don't know. It might be too late to sign up now, isn't it? Or
No, I actually just got an email this morning that said I think the last is Monday or Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday. So you gotta be
Yeah.
quick, guys. You got until Monday or Tuesday to sign up for this. The convention has tours on it. I've seen a couple of the popular ones were already filled up.
Yeah, the East Broad Top's filled up. Strasburg, I think, is filled up. But yeah, no, it's where it is in Lancaster. I mean, anybody just knows rail. I mean, that's such rich with railroad history.
Oh,
in
yeah,
that whole
yeah.
area. So there's a lot of neat tours that they're doing.
Right. And you can always go to these places on your own.
Yeah, you can. I mean, yeah. I mean, Strasburg's not that far from it.
No.
Neither is the TCA headquarters.
Right.
It's not that far. I mean, if you've never been there, I was there years ago, and then Hal and I, when we went out to the Pennsylvania Railroad Museum last year, we went across to Strasburg, and then we drove up the road to the TCA Museum. I mean, if you've never seen it, it's neat to walk through once. You need at least one person with you that's actually, I don't even think, I think if you're not a TCA member, I think you can still pay to get in. If you are a TCA member, I don't think you pay to get in.
Right. It's free for
Yeah.
TCA members.
But I'm a TCA member. I didn't have my card on me though. But she, if you just give her your name, they can look it up. They can see that you're a member. They show your driver's license. Not that, I mean, it saves you $9 or whatever it is to get in.
Right.
But it's neat. You see, there's a lot of neat history there. So that's probably worth the drive from Lancaster to go check out.
Oh yeah. Choo
Yeah.
Choo Barn.
Yeah, Choo Choo Barn. We went there. If you haven't seen their layout, it's definitely been like again. I was out there when I was a kid, so you can definitely see the changes that have been made since then. It's a neat layout. They do the same thing like what was that, Railroad Across America, whatever. Or
Oh yeah.
Roadside America.
Roadside
Which
America.
is
Yeah.
gone. That building, the building's not even there. They leveled the building, but same thing. Roadside America. Remember they used to do the day and then they do the night
Yep.
scene and then
Yeah.
so yeah, Choo Choo Barn does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
And I actually have Roadside America saved on video.
So yeah, I have some video and I've got my magnet over the refrigerator. So yeah, we went there probably about 5-6 years ago. Hal and I drove out there. It was sad because I can remember as a kid, they had the turnstile area that I can remember as a kid, like you had to wait in line to get in there. We went there. I mean, we were the only ones there. The place smelled like mold, like you could tell, like because they had a roof leak, and it was sad. It was sad. But I was glad that we got to see it one last time.
yeah. And I think I shot video of the whole entire thing 2 years before it was
Yeah.
all sold out.
Yeah, they still had the little water. They had the waterfall, the river that ran through. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, I just always thought that was so cool. Probably one of the things that inspired me as a kid to want to, have a nice detailed, layout.
Right. Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah.
And so, speaking of TCA convention and stuff, so what have we done here on this particular module?
So anybody who's been coming to any of the Greenberg shows or anything, these are existing modules, but I converted these two tipples into a mine scene. So I added. So this used to be what we used to call the High Line. There used to be these two modules are new.
Okay.
So I don't know if you remember, there used to be track that ran off of here and then started to run uphill, upgrade.
Oh yeah.
Here and then up to here. So I ripped all that out, and then remade these two modules. So now this shows like a mining town. Here, let me turn the water wheel on.
Alrighty. Oh yeah.
So this is like an old mill that sat on the site. So this is now like their headquarters. They keep this in good condition. These are the miners' cabins. So these are duplexes. So these would be for like miners that have families. And then this is a company store, so that those be a company store on site. This is now like a breaker. So I turned that into like a mine head. So you can see I added the two hoist heads at the end.
Oh yeah.
So this is now like where the coal comes up and out of the mine. You got the little critters back here. So I used Owen 30 track to make the little critters, like pulling the thing, dumping it in to go into the breaker where it would be broken into different sizes, sorted, and then it gets dropped out here in the coal cars and then weighed as it goes out. So basically the two conveyors are new, and these are removable. I can take those out because they spread between two modules.
Right.
So those come out. There's little mini plugs, so I can pop those out, and then these are all both standalone modules. Added the lower track too, so it just looks like that there's two different locations that they come out of the mine.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start off down here now to explain all that, because I want to show people the up close details that they normally expect out of my videos. And starting with this tab, so you did try real water feature at first, and it just
it just didn't work. It splashed too much. I did post one video I put on my Instagram of the water running down through there, and the other thing is too with the real water, like I would have had to add dye or something to it because the water's so clear you almost don't see it running through there.
Yeah.
So this I used realistic water. And I use they have a dye that you can different colors. So this is the muddy water. So it does kind of show. I do kind of like it. It looks, like dirty water, like you'd have around a coal mine.
Yeah, I mean it looks like real water, and that's what the product is called.
So it's made by Woodland Scene. It's just called Realistic Water. It's a 1-part, resin, and you can add a dye to. They make different dyes. So you figure out, So once you figure out the color that you want, because obviously you have to do multiple pours, because you can't pour it real thick at once. It doesn't work. So like I took the container, so I bought 3 containers of it. So I took one and made it like half, drew a line, and then kept adding how many drops till it looked nice. So it wound up that being half the container with 30 drops of the muddy water stain was the color I liked. So each time I made a batch, I just made sure I poured it to that line, added the 30 drops, shook it up, and then poured it out, and it worked out really well. This was 3 pours to get it to
3 pours
to get it to the depth and thickness I wanted.
So how much can you pour? What's recommended to pour at one shot?
I think they say 1/8 of an inch at a time. So there's about 3/8 worth, about 3/8 in there.
Yeah, it looks real. I have to say, it looks great.
So yeah, it's a neat product. I mean, I've used 2-part. Like epoxies in the past. When we did the sawmill here, Al Spaventa, God rest his soul. When we did the sawmill project here for the New Jersey Hi-Railers for their layout, we used the 2-part epoxy pour. That's good for bigger batches because that was a big pour that we had to do.
Oh, okay.
And that stuff works really well, but you don't have a time limit with the realistic water. You can take as long as you want because it takes 24 hours for it to even start setting up. It takes a good probably 72 hours for it to cure.
Okay.
Where the epoxy, like you mix it, once you put the hardener in and put it, you've got 10, 15 minutes to make that pour before it starts to become unusable. Like you can't use it.
I like how you ran like a pipe in the street, how the water goes out and it continues on the other side. That's really cool.
It's all the details, even like down to the power lines. I make all my own little drops, that go into each of the buildings, and it's just all that little kind of detail that draws you in, and when we get people standing around the layout, I mean, there's people that sometimes stand around the layout 2-3 hours. and I've had people come up to me at shows and they were like, I've seen your layout probably 30 times and I can always find something I missed last time I was here. And that's those are the kind of things you like to hear.
Yeah.
You're shooting, so this bridge right now that you're shooting, so those signal heads, that's actually a 3D printing company. I gotta find the name of them, but they're in New Jersey. They're a fairly new company, really well detailed, and they send you all the lights and everything that's ready to go. They send you the resistors, but this is, you can see every once in a while they change. We have a member that's really good with electronics, and he built, you can't see it now because it's inside here, but he built a computer board that has all different chips and everything on it, and he programmed so that basically like every 20 seconds it just changes aspect. It's just another detail to set off. They do make sensors that you can use at the track, or you can put gaps in the track. But the problem is then that interferes with continuity of the trains running, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to. So yes, these aspects have nothing to do with the trains. It's just a detail that you just see.
Yeah, but it's just cool that it changes. People get to see the
and it's one of those, you might walk around the layout 10 times before you look and go, oh my God, that just changed.
Yeah, exactly. That is so nice. I like how you made your little transformer.
So again, I've probably explained this in the past. So that's just tube. So these lights all they have a resistor in them, and the resistor is pretty good size. So I need to hide it.
Right.
So you can see the wire. So basically, I just hide the resistors. That's hollow underneath. I hide the resistor up underneath there, and then I can run the wires down through. This is square tubing, and I run the wire. That's how I keep all the wires hidden. So you have to hide all that stuff as you're. So what I usually do is I hide all the wires, get everything ready, get the resistor, and then I take the light, because that's a Deca chip LED. And then I just put tape over them when I paint it, so it doesn't get. And then that way, once I'm done painting, I just glue the light inside there, put the lens cover on, and then it's ready to go.
And the lights come from.
Those come from Evans.
Evans, right? Yeah.
The Decas. So the housings come from Harbor Models. Those are a 3D printed modern like floodlight. They have 2 different sizes.
Okay.
So those I get from Harbor Models, and then the lights so that size light housing, the Deca chip, which is the size underneath the mega chip, fits the best.
Okay. And by the way, people love when you talk about where you get your stuff and the name of the stuff.
So let me try to find, while you're shooting video, I'm going to try to find the name of where I got those signal heads from.
Sounds good. And we'll get to this side. We'll take a look over here. That was one of the comments I got the most, is that they really like the fact that you mentioned what product you're using, where you're getting it from, and
so there you go. That's where the signal heads came from. Like I said, these guys are local. They're right in New Jersey.
Oh wow, great!
And they send really good detailed instructions on how to hook the stuff up. You probably do need a little bit of, because the resistors have to get soldered in place, and so you have to actually be. So luckily, the guy who built the chip, he wired everything.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't do it. I'm not sure. I'm sure I could have eventually figured it out, but when I handed it all to him, he's like, "Yeah, there's no problem. I'll put it together." But if you have a little bit of electronic experience and you're a semi-decent solderer, then you won't have a problem hooking them up.
I like your sign here that you made.
So again, when I didn't have the water feature, I was like, let me just an explanation. It's a historical site. This used to be blah blah blah. Now it kind of forgives me that I don't have the real water there.
God, it forgives you. But it's cool to think of stuff like that. Oh wow. And it's just the amount of details that all the work that you put into these buildings and.
Well, and it's. I know there's a lot of people that have said, because these are probably some of the oldest things I have. These two tipples.
Yes.
These are probably going on 10 or 11 years old. And there was a point at one spot where I was going to retire them, and because I had an idea of what I wanted to build here. And then, as you know, it's one of those, you sit there and, I usually come out here on like a Saturday morning, have my cup of coffee, sit on a stool and just look and kind of scratch my head and be like, okay, what am I going to do today? And I finally was like, something? I love those buildings. They're some of they're not the nicest buildings I've ever built, because you can definitely see that I've gotten a lot better over the years. But I've always liked them. And I was like, something, I want to salvage them. I want to keep them. So I figured out a way that I could modify them and make them the mine scene.
And it works really well, especially with the LN30 that you put in here.
Yeah, with the rails and stuff, the ON30.
Yeah.
So that's, again, just micro-engineering ON30 flex track.
Okay.
You can pick it up off eBay, pick it up off, I just use that. The mine cars are Grant Line, which is now, forget who bought. Somebody bought Grant Line, but you can still get this stuff. But those are little kits that you just put together.
Wow, this is so cool.
And then the flashing, orange lights. Those are an Evans model, Evans design product.
Okay. This is cool to see the little mine cars and like that. I like this. That's pretty. Is this something that you've always had? Or?
No, I had. That's the. So that was something I played with a couple of years ago. Remember when I took remember when I was buying Lion Chief engines and then cutting them apart and turning them into things?
Yeah.
So actually in the front, so that's actually a real, there's a company out there that has a self-propelled, it's like a cart that is for to put like a backhoe on it so that you can, do track maintenance.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a company out there. So this would be what actually moves. Unfortunately, I couldn't figure out how to make that move. So I bought a Thomas an engine, took the top off, and I built like what it looks like a ballast car, and that sits in front. That's upstairs, but that sits in front, and that will motor it around the track. But this, I'm just using it with the engine. I could just pull it. Later, I'll fire that engine up, and we'll move it back and forth.
Well, that's so cool.
So yeah, I scratch built that whole thing. I made, and I like it. It's just a neat piece. I don't always run it at the show. Sometimes I just take it and sit it like on a siding.
Oh, okay.
But that's all new. Everything down the end that you're filming now, those are the hoist heads. So that would be, that's a vertical mine. So that would be, what they would hoist the trolleys up with that, move the coal cars up, and then the little critters would move them back and forth to where they have to go.
And just look at all the little details. Where are you getting your wood to do all this?
I buy it all from Micromark. Again, local company. It's up in Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. So the nice thing with them is that I've got a pretty good rapport with them. So they always, they don't discount the product to me, but usually they always cover the shipping. I'm always ordering large enough amounts that there's going to be free shipping. But the thing I really like about it's Berkeley Heights, I can order it on a Monday, and sometimes it's on my front porch like Tuesday afternoon. So it gets here pretty quick.
How about the wheels for the cabling system?
So all of that is all from Tichy Train, Tichy Train Group. So they're where I get all the windows, the doors. They have all those wheels. They all kinds of different detail parts.
Wow, really nice.
All the nut bolt detail you see. That's all. Yeah, that's all Tichy.
It's all Tichy. Is that an engine in there?
Yep. Yeah, it's the so that one I left the door open, so you could see the inside. So that's an engine that runs the hoist to.
Oh, okay. It runs the generator for the hoist. Nice. Wow.
And these were actually, so see the red. So I have one up top, one on the bottom. So those are actually real, type of detail. Those were the explosive cabinets that they would store all the explosives in, and they're like a solid steel. So when it's shut, if something happened,
Okay.
it didn't blow half the mine up. But you can see this one here. He's getting the sticks of dynamite and everything out to so that he can load it into the, once they dump this back to the mine, he can take it with him. And then you can see all of these guys. I put lights on all of their helmets up top. So those are nano chip LEDs that I used on their helmets. That was not easy because these big fat figures tried to just put a pin amount of glue on there and then try to hold that little nano chip. And it's the worst part is that they're so tiny, you have a hard time telling which side is the reflective side. So like you have to like put power to them first to see like, okay, that's where the light is.
Wow.
But it really adds a nice little element off their helmet. Like, they got the little mining caps on.
And speaking of looking at something 20 times and not noticing, but the air conditioning units.
So those are from Model Tech Studios.
Okay.
So they're up in New England. The only show they ever do that I've ever seen them is Amherst. But you can order on site. And I know I've bashed their website in the past. It's gotten better.
Okay.
It used to be their website was really hard to navigate. But it has gotten a lot better. And they've got some neat detail parts. I mean, I've bought from them in the past. So they've got some neat stuff.
Is this the normal stone that you use? 'Cause this looks different than what you normally use.
Yeah, no, it's just because this is rubber.
Oh,
I
okay.
had some of it left. I just use it because it helps keep it lighter. This isn't the Woodland Scenics, the heavier stuff. But unfortunately, the Brummies, he passed away several years ago, so you can't get it anymore. So once I'm done with it, but I used to use it a lot because it really helped keep the weight down on the modules.
Weight's the critical thing for you guys.
Weight's a critical thing because we're not getting any younger, and you have to manhandle every one of these. And not to mention that we load all this stuff in a trailer, so we try to keep the weight of the trailers around 7,500 pounds, because once you start going above that, then it puts a lot of wear and tear on the trailers, because we're using 2-axle trailers, so I guess they're rated for what, 8,000 pounds,
8 to 10,000, depending.
So
Yeah.
and the trailer itself's got to weigh probably 2,000 pounds. So you're right there at the and you don't want to maximize the weight in the
Right,
time.
yeah.
So we try to keep it around. And believe it or not, luckily I have a friend who owns a company that they sell stone and stuff, so they have a scale. So we've done it. We've actually unloaded the trailer, gone down, driven it over the scale, see what the weighs, come back, load it up, go drive back there, go over the scale, and then gives us the weight. And now we know how much weight's actually in the trailers.
Oh, okay.
So we do know. So it's like every time you add and change modules, it's like, all right, I think this one's lighter than the one, so that's good. As long as it's lighter, it's okay. But if you have one that's like, holy crap, this is a lot heavier. You don't want to put too much weight in them, especially when you're pulling them a long distance.
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of which, I'm glad you brought that subject up as far as traveling. The most common question I get after the fact, people see me out there at shows and stuff. They know I come here and do this behind the scenes. The most common question I get is, how do we transport these layouts?
So we have 4 trailers in the club. 2 of them are here. So I pull one, and then there's a friend of mine, and he's in the club too, lives close enough that he comes here and grabs the other one. You got 1 trailer, the other 2 are up in North Jersey. They get brought. And there's racks. So
right.
I build all custom racks for all these. They're all roll. So again, each one of those racks, I know can't go over a certain height, because if not, it won't fit in the trailer. And you have to know, the width. So I know I could fit 2 racks this size, side by side, this top, stacked in here. And this is what I have, because the trailers are 14 footers. So each module, usually what I do is I figure out, and I know that I can have like 2 at like 22 inches tall. I can have 2 at 12 inches tall. I can have, so as I'm building them, I just make sure they don't go over those heights.
Right. Yeah, because I know that you build these modules to where the fixtures or the buildings are permanent on here. You're not taking buildings off and vehicles off and putting them back on and off and off, because that's basically how things get worn out. So the viewers knew that all this stuff was permanent. They just couldn't picture or envision how you transported this.
So it's all big wooden. So I build them out all 3/4 plywood. They're all pocket jointed together, and I mean they're tough. If you've ever been to any of the shows, usually some of the racks are usually sitting over on the side wall. Sometimes when there's no space, they'll tell us, so we have to put them back in the trailer. But all the racks are all just size with big, they look like pie racks, and all the modules just slide in each one. And you can take every one of these modules, flip them upside down, nothing will fall off.
Right.
Everything's glued down.
Yes.
And glued down tough, because they do take a beating in the trailers. Occasionally you get to a show, something's come unglued, and you just re-glue it back on, stick them down.
Yeah.
That's the only way we can have this kind of detail. Most of your other, modular layouts, that's how they do it. They set them up, they put the buildings on.
Yes.
And you can tell, and I'm not knocking them. I mean, that's how they do it. It's fine. That's how these guys used to do it. I was the first one who started gluing all the stuff down, because I was like, there's got to be an easier way to do this. And right. Because of my company, I own trailers. So I was like, I dedicated one of the trailers to just trade stuff. And then the club bought a trailer a few years ago. So that's how we got the 2 trailers. And then another member has one, and then another member has one. So that's it. Yeah, it's ultra. I think we only have like 2 members anymore that still transport stuff in their cars. One being the lift bridge. Wherever we go in and out, George.
All right.
He still has to put everything on his module every show, and so that's the thing, is that he spends the entire setup time getting his modules ready, where the rest of us can set the rest of the layout up, because these are all literally, pull them out, set them up, level them up, pins together, next one. You don't have to go back and put detail on them. So it saves a lot of time, and you can have some really neat detail.
Right.
That was always my goal. My goal was always to make. I mean, there's people that have home layouts that certainly look better than this, but I wanted to make a layout that looks like a home layout, but it travels. So that was always my goal.
Right. And speaking of which, I wanted to give you feedback on that since you brought it up. And I've had several people come up to me again saying that they wanted to mention to you through me that you've actually attained that goal. I mean, they can't believe that you have a home layout, basically, that actually travels to all these shows, and it looks like a home layout. So you absolutely met that goal.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. And listen, and you've put us on the map. So for the TCA convention, So the last TCA convention we did it when Mecca sponsored it, and it was in Somerset. That was 2015. I mean, because anybody knows the TCA convention travels around. So I mean, like I think one year it was in Pasadena, California, and it was like it travels around. So obviously we're not going to drive to. Like I think next year I think it's in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I'm not driving down to Jacksonville, Florida to go to this. But when I saw it was in Lancaster this year, I was like, so that's close enough. That's easy enough. So I said, guys, let's do the convention. So I said, let me see if we can get into it. So I called Pete Condo. You've met him.
Yeah, Pete Condo.
He's a member of that club that has the layout in the
River City Hi-Railers.
So I called him. I was talking to him. I said, this is the Raritan Valley Hi-Railers. I just want to see if we can get in the train. He goes, hell yeah. He goes, I would love to have your guys lay out there. I was like, how do you know of our layout? He's like, I watched the Deckman videos. He goes, I've seen your layout numerous times. He goes, no, your layout's great. So we have you to thank for that, because that's people see the layout because they watch your videos.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, he's actually going to be there setup day. He's gonna help us set up.
Oh, great.
I don't. Are they bringing their layout to it?
I'm not sure.
Do they pull theirs apart and out of that thing?
They do. They do pull their layout apart. They go to certain train shows. They've actually been to the TCA show in York with their layout a couple times. But I'm sure it's just like everybody else, the amount of volunteers and stuff like that.
That's the problem. It's because we've been asked numerous times, and why don't you guys do the York? Like the problem is you got to give up several days during the week. Most of our members still work. We have only a couple guys that are retired. Everybody else still has a job. So
yeah,
it's hard to get. I mean, they're all taking off time for this convention. They're gonna. I mean, they all have jobs that they all have vacation time and stuff. But we also all have wives and kids. So what happens when you burn vacation time for this?
Yeah,
you get a little lip about it.
Right.
Luckily, I own my own business, so it's not like I'm burning vacation time. I'm just taking a couple days off. But we're looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be nice. The guy, we'll be doing dinner together and stuff, so hanging out, and then it's because when we do the Greenberg shows, like we'll have breakfast together or something. But we don't really hang out afterwards. We do have to have a Christmas party every year together, but we do enjoy each other's company. It's a good group of guys. You hear of some clubs, they have the politic issues, and like we don't have any of that in our club. There's no bull crap in our club. It's just there's about 12 of us, 12, 15 of us, and you come run trains with us.
Oh yeah,
everybody gets along.
Gets along. I always
everybody bust each other's chops.
Yeah.
Mostly we bust Fred's chops. Hey Fred. So, but he's a good egg about it. He's a good egg about it.
Yeah, I like Fred.
I mean, it's we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time.
Now, I want to talk about something else to help you out as well. So, you are downsizing, unfortunately, because of what's happening at Edison. And I told you off camera, but I'm going to tell you on camera. I'm sure there's people that are going to want certain things off the layout that you may be putting up for sale. And so I know you post a lot of stuff on Instagram. So if you decide to sell stuff, would that be the best place for people to see it?
Or maybe so I'm going to be pulling some of the stuff out of the trailer in the next few weeks. I mean, either that or I'll set it up here and maybe you can shoot a video too and put it on there. So just so anybody's familiar with our layout, so that whole back area that used to go behind this, it was the town of Bridgeton. That's all going. Unfortunately, the stuff that I just built last year, the coal tipple, the loader and all that's all going. Those two modules that have the cranes and everything on, those are going. I am going to incorporate the transfer bridge and the engine house. I am going to keep those. That's my next winter's build, is to do 4 upfront modules that you can transverse off the layout and into that area. Because that's what we have to keep it to now. Each side of our layout is probably never going to be any more than 4 or 5 modules. So the days of us being, the 42 by 52, Greenberg just doesn't have they don't have the room anymore. And listen, I'm not knocking Greenberg. The shows are doing well. They're getting a lot of vendors coming in. The problem is that the Raritan Center is getting busy again. How many shows now you go to where there's always another show going on?
Oh, yeah.
So Greenberg doesn't get use of the other side anymore like they used to.
Right.
Because when there wasn't a show there, the Raritan Center would let them, go ahead. If you spread into there a little bit, they didn't say anything.
Right.
So they'd always let the bigger layouts go over that other side. It doesn't happen anymore. Even the Thanksgiving show this year, which I don't think I've done a show there in 10 years that there's ever been another show going on the other side. And I think, the chocolate show or something was there?
The chocolate show, yeah.
Next year, or this year, I don't know, and it's not a mistake. This is the first time, right? The Greenberg show is not that Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah,
it's the weekend before.
I've already heard that, like a couple months ago. I heard they were doing it.
It's the weekend before, so that's going to be something different. But Greenberg does work with us, because there for a while they were because there's two O-gauge layout. There's the Independents,
right,
and then us.
Yes.
And again, nothing against either one. Matter of fact, the Independents, they were invited to go do the convention. They didn't have enough guys to get the layout there, so they're actually three or four of their members are actually going to be with us. They're going to come help us set up. They're going to run trains with us, so we get along with those guys. But it's they either let them in it now because we're willing to modify the size of our layout all the time. Whatever at least we're in the show. We'd rather be in the shows, but I don't. We're never going to be that big layout anymore. So yeah, so that's all going. So yeah, there'll be quite. So I'll post it as layout. If anybody wants to make me an offer and buy it, great. If not, I'll probably in a couple weeks after I do that, I'll probably just start stripping them all down, and then sell the individual buildings.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of neat little buildings on that. There's Losey's Produce. There's a really neat transfer building on there. There's a station. There's a firehouse, an infirmary. There's a flat that's three construct. There's another coal dealer on there. There's a lot of neat little buildings on there.
Now, because of the buildings and the way they're built, I'm sure you're going to tell people, I would hope so, that they would need to pick it up in person.
They would need to pick it up in person, or, if they're coming to there's a Greenberg show or something coming up on Broadway.
I would not recommend shipping this.
No. They would probably ship well because they're pretty durable, but I can't imagine that the size would be expensive to ship them.
Yeah.
So the last building I sold, the guy lived up in Edison, and he actually wanted to come and see the shop because he'd seen it on video. So he's like, "Can I come pick it up?" So he came here, hung out for the day, not the day, but he hung out for a couple hours, and picked up the building, and we talked a little bit. Now we've become friendly. He's actually another YouTuber. The train board.
Oh yeah, Ryan.
So
Ryan
they bought the one tipple off me. So yeah, and so you make friends that way too.
Yeah,
It is. It's one big giant community.
Yeah, and somebody who's building a layout or wants to incorporate maybe one of these modules into their layout. Hopefully that they could do something.
And it's not. So the ones that I'm selling aren't ones that have the 4-track main line. They're all off, so like the one that's the town of Bridgeton, that's actually got a little, that could be a standalone little point-to-point layout. It's got a little little yard in it that you can, like a little fiddle yard. It's got some sidings that you could do some switching on. So it was always like a little standalone area anyway.
Yeah, I actually got you on video switching on that.
Yeah, so it was a fun. It's it's got the three switch Ross track. So those switches, anybody's ever used them, they are a little complicated to use because they have like a double frog on them, so you have to switch them just right. But it's nice because it keeps a 3-track area in a very tight, confined space. And they're, what are those? Probably 16 feet long of layout, fully lit. It's got the full light package on it. So yeah, I'll offer it up as one piece. If nobody buys it, I'll just start pulling it apart and stripping it down. The coal tipple, I figure if nobody buys that, I might just donate that to the New Jersey Hi-Railers, because at least there, I know they'd use it and be able to. But that was a neat piece. Anybody who watched me making it and saw, only did one show. It was only that one show.
Yeah.
And, but you get, the chute goes up and down. It loads coal. It's a neat little piece. So that would be, and it's not like I'm going to sell them for $1 million because what am I going to do? So,
right.
I'm the type, if I can't figure it, and I strip, if I can't, whatever I can't, I throw away. It goes right in the dumpster. Because I'm not storing it. I don't have a home layout. So I don't use it, on my own. Maybe I'll give you a piece. Put it on your layout. At least then I could always see it when you guys see your videos. Yeah, because I built the piece for New Jersey Hi-Railers. There's a tipple up there, and that's why I always tell everybody that I give it as long as they leave the Raritan Valley coal on it, because it's cool to see that. You see a video, you're like, oh yeah, I made that piece.
Yeah, yeah.
To me, it's like every once in a while I sit and just go through my Instagram, just roll back to 5-6 years ago. And you see stuff, you're like, oh God, I totally forgot about that. That was pretty neat. Or you look at something, and be like, oh God, that was horrible looking. Thank God I got rid of that.
And speaking of which, I have a Raritan Valley Hi-Railers playlist.
Yes.
So you can actually go through the videos back years ago when I first started, when I first met you guys, and see the progress over the time.
When I first joined the club, there was modules that were still painted black. They didn't have any scenery. And I think I've told the story how it was. The guy who lives close to me. We were friendly, so I started going up to the shows and seeing the stuff and looking at it and just being like, this is hard. Like, I wasn't even a big train guy. I'm just a big scenery, and I was like, this is horrible. So it was almost like a challenge. Like make it better. So I did, and I remember the first thing I built was that, if everybody remembers, that stream with the waterfall.
Yes.
And it has a Y that went into the yard area. So that was the first thing I ever built. And matter of fact, that got bought at the last convention, 2015. A guy came up to me from Boston, I think he was from, and bought a big chunk of the layout. And it turns out that he incorporated into a layout that anybody ever watched Model Railroad Scenes, Brian Inch.
Oh, yeah.
That's who built his layout for him.
Oh.
So, because I went to Amherst and Brian Inch was there, but he was selling stuff he didn't use. I remember seeing one day, I was like, hey, wait a minute, I made that. And I flipped it over, slapped my name on it. I guess the guy just didn't use the pieces. So, Brian was just selling them. I was like, that's kind of cool. Who would have ever thought I'm at Amherst and see something that that I made? So it is. It's funny at the same time. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
To know that somebody else is getting to enjoy something.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you went through all the trouble building it. I would hope somebody would want to. I'm sure people would want to buy it.
I love building stuff. That's my thing. If I could just build stuff all the time, I'd be happy. But unfortunately, it's got to stop sometime because there's just no place else to put it.
Right.
As it is now, once I build that last thing next winter, unless somebody wants their modules are done, there is no other projects to do. Occasionally bringing stuff in for maintenance and stuff, and then how many more years? You think about how many more years does the club really have? We're taking in very few young guys. There's just young kids that want to join, and we're all getting older. I mean, I'm in my mid-50s, and I'm like one of the youngest ones in the club. So it's harder. It gets harder and harder, and it's long weekends and a lot of moving stuff. So, maybe another 10 years. I'm not saying the hobby. The hobby, I think, is getting stronger.
Right.
But I think some of these modular clubs you're going to see go away. Look at all the modular clubs, N Scale, all those guys. They're all older guys.
Yeah.
They have a, when you see a guy walking in with a walker, you're like, it's like, I give it to you, buddy. And then you got guys like the last show, that N Scale guy that had the steel mill, that really nice detailed. He was by himself. It was him and his wife, and that's what he said. He goes, I do this by myself. He's like, it's not easy. So that's it. It is. It's. I mean, when I first joined the club, there was probably 25 of us, and now there's 10, 15 of us.
Oh wow!
So we have one. We have one young kid in there, and he's a great kid. But even that, he's gonna hit those high school years, and he's gonna fade away, because that's usually what happens. They fade away. And then if you really have the bug, it's not until after you've graduated high school or college and you've settled down, you have a job and you're starting a family, and you realize, hey, I like trains,
Yeah.
and then you come back to the hobby.
Yeah.
So it's it's not easy to bring in young people into this hobby anymore. I mean, there's a big gap when I had trains when I was a kid. I used to do it with my father, and I mean now it's probably I've been going about 10 or 12 years, but so. From probably when I was in high school to 12, 15 years ago, there was a big gap in there. I didn't do anything with trains. I mean, I would occasionally see something at some point, but it's cool. But
right. Yeah.
I didn't have the bug to want to get back into it like I did. And then once I started doing this, it was like this this was the enjoyment part, building stuff. I tell people all the time, I'm not a train guy. I'm really not. I mean, I do like the history trains, and I'll run trains every once in a while, but I like building stuff. That's my hobby. You know, it's I like to build things, so, which is why I don't have a home layout. Because I know if I build a home layout, I'll finish it and I'll throw it away because I'll never use it. It's like, so, you know, that's like that cold tipple. Because everybody's like, oh, why don't you keep the cold tipple and, you know, build a little thing here and just load cars 5-6 times and then what? You know, it's like, all right, this is boring. You know, so I'd rather just sell it to somebody who will really get some enjoyment out of it.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. So I mean, and this is the last part over here. This will go on the end, on that end. It just doesn't fit right now. But so this is a dormitory. So again, this is an existing module we've had. This always had the drop off here. This is like the scales and the drop off. This dormitory used to be on another small little module. A few shows back, it took damage to the roof. It got damaged, so I ripped that off and built this part, added it to the back side of this module, so now it's just part of this. So this would be like where the single miners live.
Oh, okay.
You know, this is all like stuff I've pulled out of books, and this is the way the companies would work. So dormitories would be for the single, the cottages would be for the family, you know, coal miners. This would be what they call a drop-off. So these would be scales. So they were usually set down the track a little bit from the tipple so that, you know, it didn't foul, that when they were dumping, didn't foul the tracks of the scales. If they were over scale or overweight, you know, they drop off any excess coal, and then they would just reload it and send it back up to the tipple that would get reloaded later. And then the little scene you see back behind here is there's usually mines always had like a secondary entrance to them. So this is what I call my north slope entrance. So this is like, you know, this, you're supposed to envision that this is connected to this mountain up here.
Right.
And then this is the area that like the timber crew would go in to do repairs. And then also if there was a cave in or something, they could, you know, send in to get from the other side. And then another little historical site sign says that this is, you know, this is the north slope. And,
I like how you put all these little tiny details into the scenes.
so this is all, again, just scratch. So this started out as a HO scale boxcar.
Oh, wow.
I cut it down, you know, modified it and turned the back part into a flat area, built a little hoist and everything. You know, added some little details here. Again, added, you know, a little light to the miner's cap. The little cart that's pulling behind, a little gas-powered saw so they can cut the timbers while they're, you know, working inside the mine. These are all, Lionel made a kit years ago that had that tower. So that tower came with the little lumber shed and came with the barrel shed. I had a couple of them. I still have one tower left. I was at a show, I don't know, about 10 years ago. And they were little plastic, they almost looked like Plasticville type kits that Lionel had.
Right.
I bought like 3 of them. And over the years, I've used for different things. Yeah, you repaint them and everything, and you know, because they're just clear plastic, or not clear, but they're like just a white plastic when you get them.
And then you got the
Church. That actually has sound modules. It's just not plugged in right now. But that has bells and a big gong and everything.
I always enjoyed the stained glass windows that you put into this.
So I'm pretty sure I've told the story of that on the video, but I'll tell it again. So when I built that church, it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I built the whole church. The thing was done. There was no windows in it because I wanted like stained glass. And to try to find miniature stained glass, I couldn't find it. There was like different celluloid type screens that you put on, but I wanted something that had a little detail. My wife got cookies for one Christmas from somebody, I don't know, and it was on a plastic tray, like one of those throwaway plastic trays.
Oh yeah.
And it was one of those, and she's like, you know, we're done, and she's like, threw it away. It's one of those where you open up the garbage can, you look in there, and be like, hey, let me see that. You pull it out, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, there's my windows, because it had a bunch of repeating details on it. So I had my little mini table saw. I started cutting it up into squares, and again, that's how I got those windows. Some people look at it and they said it's like pentagrams. I was like, well, I'm sure there probably was a little black magic going on. And then the LEDs are that's called a flickering LED. That's Evan's design. You know, kind of looks like a little candle.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got So a miner is going to be upgraded. He's getting married. He's going to be able to move out of the dormitory and move into a cottage.
Getting upgraded. That's funny. And just curiosity, that's a ventilation shaft?
That's a ventilation shaft.
Yeah. Okay.
Which would be common.
Nice.
So this is all, I just made. So again, you could see this was an angled. So this fit at the end of the Bridgeton modules, and basically where it came around the corner to come out, there was a little triangle there.
Yes.
So that sat in that corner. So now that I knew I didn't need that anymore, I was like, but I liked the church. And so I just took and added on to it to turn it into a square module, and then was like, what am I going to do with the little piece over here? It's like, I'm going to make this little detail. Again, we enjoy this from the inside of the layout when you're standing out, because it's viewed for the public out here.
Right.
So, but you kind of see it behind, and that's what people like. It's like, okay, I can't see all the super detail, but it looks like something in the distance. So it just adds another element of depth to the
right.
layout.
Yeah, because for those who may not remember or may not know about the city of Bridgeton, it actually ran behind the scenes, like you said.
It ran right behind these modules. Right behind these modules. So yeah, you didn't see it. You saw it if you were standing on the side of the layout. You could see it from a distance. And there was, anybody who was ever really interested and asked, if they could come into the layout, we always invite them in. So people would come in and they would videotape it. I mean, I know you've seen it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And guys used to just like running back there. So they would run around the layout, just run off and run back behind, through there, and then pop back out the other side of the layout. It just added another element, but we don't have the room to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So, and the problem is that without the layout being that size, anything that protrudes into the layout just makes it even smaller inside.
Yeah.
You saw that our last show. We were only 24 by 24. We had it was so tight in there, and that's where I made the decision. I was like, all right, this is just all got to go. We'll just be different mainline scenes. So now what I'll do is every show I'll just use a different scene. So it'll at least look like the layout's changing all the time. It's really just the same groups, but I made all the scenes smaller. Some of our scenes on some of the modules used to stretch out, 5, 6, 7 modules. So I've just condensed them all down to being no more than 4 modules.
Oh, okay.
For me, I mean, there are still, like Bobby's, are still over several modules. So unfortunately, we can only use a certain amount of his every show. But he's got that industrial area, where Stapleton's metal and the Menards lumberyard. That's Bobby's. So yeah, turn the lights out. Do some night shots.
Sure.
Yeah, it did. I put it so if you were to stare into that mine entrance, basically it ends about 8 inches in. And I didn't want that to be seen, but I did want it to look that you could tell the tracks went in and veered off to the right.
Oh. So
I put an LED, a powerful LED. That's a bright, right at the, so it kind of lights the first 4 or 5 inches, but then you can't see past it.
Very nice.
And in here, there's a lot of detail up in here. All the little workmen in here, and you got different tools. The best, if you really look, there's a guy sitting on a bucket, taking a dump. And all those figures, so those are all the pewter figures from Artista.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they have some neat stuff. Everybody thinks, they're like, oh, I thought that company's out of business. I was like, no, they are still in business. So the Choo Choo Barn is the only place I've been in years that they have huge racks of them. You can buy tons of the Artista figures there. But mostly I just buy them online. You order them right from Artista, and they come pretty quick.
Of course, you're always got the famous for putting lights in vehicles, too.
I love putting lights in vehicles. I like putting lights in things, period. I love to try to figure out how to get lights into things. Some people are like, oh my God, that drives me nuts. To me, I don't know. I find it relaxing. Like I'll sit at the bench some days and be like, all right, I have 10 vehicles that I have to, light. And I'll just spend all day just figuring out how to pull them apart and get things in there. And I also like using a mix of warm LEDs, cool LEDs, and then I still use some incandescent bulbs. I get those from Minitronics. I like the variation in the colors because that's like real life.
Oh yeah.
You know, you'll see some businesses they'll have, you know, some fixtures they'll upgrade new LEDs, but they still have some of the old mercury vapors. They still, you know, and they all have different, you know, all different colors.
All different colors, yeah. Especially industrial areas.
Now with the lights off, but those aspects of those signals, you really see that they got some their scale. They really did a nice job on this.
Very nice, yeah. And again, you have.
Yeah, that's an old Corber.
Oh, really?
That's a Corber model when Corber was Corber. You know, now Corber got bought by somebody.
Mr. Muffins.
Yeah, so it's still Corbers. You can still get them, but I pulled that off of the two old modules that I trashed. I stripped them down. That was one of the pieces I pulled off of there. After I put it there, because I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I was like, why is there a tower there? There's no interlocking here. I was like, you know, something. Most people won't know that.
No. But Mr. Muffins owns Corber and Ameritown. So he builds both of those
All right.
kits.
Yeah, I know you buy a lot of stuff from him.
Yeah.
If you really get in there, the whole company store is detailed on the inside. You can see all the shelves and all the...
Oh, yeah.
And again, it's not stuff that most people will probably ever see. But it's, you know, when you look down in there, and I like adding detail to the interiors too. Like all these cottages, I decided not to do interiors, but I did want to detail the porches. And like all the tables and chairs and all the stuff you see on the porches, that's all from Shapeways.
Okay. I'll make sure to... So what I do, for those who may not be familiar... Sorry.
Yeah, that's why I use that elastic.
For those who may not know, as Matt rattles off these places, I do put them in the description of the video. I had a viewer tell me that, yeah, sure, I like your videos, but I have to pause it all the time to get the name. And I said, well, you really don't have to do that, because ever since I've been doing behind the scenes with Matt, I always put all the links to all the places that he mentions in the video to save you that work. And he's like, oh, okay. And the links are all active. So, like he just mentioned, Shapeways. You can go to the description of this video. It'll be Shapeways, and all you got to do is click on a link, and it takes you right there. So I make it pretty easy.
So, and then the power lines, you just notice that the power lines are the elastic. So that's Berkshire Junction. You can get that stuff. There's, I mean, I think you can actually order directly from Berkshire Junction, which that's a cool little website. They got some neat stuff on there, but you can buy that stuff from Scenic Express sells it. Then different colors. I use the green. It's supposed to mimic like copper.
Copper, yeah.
And I realize that most power lines don't look like that. Because it shows up better. So that's the reason I use the green.
I do like it. I like it myself.
But if you look at like real power lines, they don't really take on that copper. You know, they usually just have a black, silverish, look. But I do have black. But if you use it, you can't see it. It kind of disappears. So I like the green just because it shows up. I'm sure another question you get asked too, because I get asked that one all the time. How many lights are on the layout?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I've asked that a couple times, and
like if I had to take a guess just on these 4 modules right here, there's probably 500 to 600. So add that up over, so there's probably a few thousand on the layout.
And in actuality, even though this is an old, you mentioned already on video, this is an older module, but a lot of these lights do last a long time.
They last a long time. So these are all original on here. So these are 10, 11. Those are all Minitronics. Because you got to remember, they're only running, for every show, they run 4 hours a day. So they run 8 hours on a weekend. Most of the like Miniatronics, when you get their incandescent ones, it'll say right on the package, 30,000 hours. It would take you a lifetime to hit 30,000 hours.
Yeah.
So the only thing you do have to be careful with, and I do, so when the show, when the voice comes over the intercom and says, the show will be ending in 15 minutes, as soon as it's like the show has ended, I unplug everything. And so that gives us some cool down period. Because the incandescents, with a ball, if you move them around while that element's hot, you'll break it.
Yeah.
The LEDs, not so much. You don't really affect them. But I usually unplug it because it's a good hour after you unplug it that you're actually starting to load the modules. By then they cool off and it's not an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely need a cool down period for incandescents.
And then the same thing, like the lights going up, the walkway. So that's not individuals. You can order string lights from Evans. So they have them. So like on here, I use the 26. They have 26 and 12. That's a 12. This is a 26. And I like how this, and again, I named this mine the Laurel Creek Mine. So I like how, that's why I put a sign there. I was like, I liked how that showed.
Now, for you, do you have a power source, a constant voltage power source?
Yes, we use, you can see it, it's at the bottom there. But so it's the power packs that are used for outdoor lighting.
It's 12 volt or
12 volt AC constant, but it puts out a clean AC.
Right.
Which, because if you've ever seen something that has and I honestly don't know enough about power where a clean source, a dirty source, but I guess it has something to do. You'll see LEDs will flicker. That's because they're getting they're either starving for electricity or they're not getting a clean source of electricity. So I find that those, and when I first started buying them, they were like $90 because you buy Home Depot. Malibu is a big company that makes outdoor lighting. The problem is now they're like $145 a piece.
Oh wow!
Everything's gone up, but they last forever. But those things put out, I think, 200 watts.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
They're well, because they're meant to do but we have 8 of them that we use around the land.
Wow. All right, so you're using 12 volts AC.
12 volt AC. So like when I buy. So when you order from Miniatronics, obviously they have 1.5 volt. They have different volts. I buy ones that are rated for 12 to 14 volts. Evans, it's you can order from because LEDs are DC normal, but they put rectifiers on them. You can do it yourself. It's a little cheaper, but they pre-make them. So you order it that it's ready 7 to 19 volt AC, and they already put the rectifier on there.
Yeah, that was my next question. Our LEDs are normally DC power.
Well, they're like 3. I think to use a LED with nothing on it, I think is 3 volt. I think they're 3 volt DC.
Yeah.
But then once you put rectifiers and resistors and you can make them for anything.
Right.
Evans just sells them pre-made for, and I guess if you were probably doing a big enough order, you could probably ask them to make them any way you wanted. But they pre-sell stuff with nothing, no resistor or anything. Then you have to do it yourself, or they already pre-make them where they're set for. So you can pick the length of the whip. They either have like an 8-inch or 14-inch. I just pick the 14 because it only doesn't add much, and I like the 14s because it just gives me a little more flexibility with them. And then I order them for pre-ready for between 7 and 19 volt AC or DC. You can, because the rectifier that's on there can actually be used at a DC or an AC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the rectifier can figure it out itself. Again, that's above me. I don't understand how that works. I just know that I've been using it for years and it works great. The guy who built the thing for this, he could probably explain to you how it works.
Yeah. All right, that's cool. All right, Matt. Well, thank you for bringing me back behind the scenes once again to see the finished product and a sneak peek to what is going to be on display at the TCA Convention.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, we'll be there. We'll be there that Thursday, so that's going to be. So we set up the night. So Thursday the 20th Friday the 21st and Saturday the 22nd. The convention runs from the 15th to the 23rd. But well, just they call it the I forget what they call the floor. But anyway, it's where all the vendors are. That's only open Thursday or Thursday night, Friday all day, Saturday till 2:00.
That's Marketplace.
Marketplace, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know what vendors and stuff are going to be there. It's not going to be probably as many as like at a Greenberg show or something.
Right.
But usually they get ones that are from that area. And the nice thing is there's a lot of vendors actually from that area. So they'll probably get some, like what's the Altoona Works?
Oh, yeah,
he
yeah.
makes some really neat stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm kind of hoping he is there because I'll probably go do a little shopping over there. That other guy that you see out at Allentown all the time that makes all the different models. I can't think of his name. But you see Altoona Works at Allentown.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm thinking that any vendors that are probably usually at Allentown will probably be at the convention.
At the convention.
It's, you're not that far apart from each other.
Right.
So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good time, and who knows the next time a convention is going to be in this area again.
And people have been asking because my last train show that I went to was in Timonium at the Great Scale Train Show, and I had announced that for the summertime, I'll be relaxing and put my own stuff out there. But yes, I will be at the TCA convention myself. I'll be hanging out with Matt and the Raritan Valley Hi-Railers. Come out and see us. I decided, not many tours on there really interested me, but I just, because people asked me if I was going to do any of the tours, not really. I just want to spend time at the convention, hang out with the Raritan Valley Hi-Railers, maybe do a little bit of my own scenic thing, so I'm looking forward to it as well. And I'll be there the same days as you guys, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So yeah, Dakman Productions will be there if you want to. I'll be bringing you some videos from the convention, and we'll have a good time.
Yeah, bring some engines with you so you can run some trains.
There you go.
Or just buy something new there and run it. Run it while you're there.
Yeah, I do have a Conrail SD50 on the way now. They just arrived into the Lionel dealers, so I'll be doing a video on that here shortly. Maybe I'll bring that because I'm pretty sure that's Bluetooth. I think anything Lionel makes now is Bluetooth, but
I saw your video with the crane. We have a couple of members that have that crane too.
Oh, the TNCC crane, yeah.
You got pretty proficient with it pretty quick though. I played with it once or twice with some of the guys, not with the legacy remote, only with the TMCC remote.
Yeah,
and it took a little getting used to.
Well, see, that's what screwed up my mind is because originally when I had the first one, I had the Cab 1 remote and I learned off of that. But when I bought it back, and I actually got pretty good with it, but after I bought it back, now I'm trying to figure out how to use it with my legacy remote. It's like, but it took me a whole 10 minutes in my mind okay, this is what you need to do.
It's a neat piece. I wish more companies made more maintenance way equipment that moved and operated like that. 'Cause it's just, and they can do it because they make it an HO.
Right.
So if they're making an HO, that there's no reason they can't make it an O scale. But I get it, it's cost and R&D and figuring out how to do it. But that crane. And that Conrail paint scheme did look great. That was probably one of the nicer paint schemes on
and Conrail really had blue cranes.
Yeah.
They had both a blue version and a black version.
They weren't that clean, but...
As a matter of fact, the black version resides over at the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, no, I think I've seen,
I don't know if they ever put the Conrail name back on it again.
It just sits outside. I don't think they ever did anything with it. Is that, or does that one sit inside?
No, it sits outside. I have pictures of it originally when it was in the Conrail road name. It was just faded. They since primered it, sat outside primered for years. Then they repainted it black again, but didn't put the Conrail name on it. That was like a couple years ago. I visited there. So maybe I'll just stop by to see if they did put the Conrail name on it or not. But it was originally a Conrail crane. And it was an operational crane too, from what I understood. Just like the GP30 that's in the Conrail GP30.
Yep.
That's an operational piece. They say that the only thing that's wrong with it is it doesn't have reverse.
That could be a problem.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be. I mean, I don't know what it would cost to fix something like that, but
Yeah, it's a neat museum. Yeah, we saw you out there. We were out there last summer where they have their railroad days where they have train clubs and stuff. That's another great spot. That museum is excellent. Yeah, no, look forward to it.
all right. Well, we'll catch you at the convention next, I guess. And thank you again for bringing me back behind the scenes, and I'd like to thank the viewers for watching another Dak Band Productions video. We'll catch you guys at another train show, hopefully at the TCA convention. You never know. We'll see you guys later. Goodbye.